The city of London was blanketed in a dense fog, its murky tendrils creeping through the streets and alleyways. Inside the hallowed walls of 221B Baker Street, Sherlock Holmes and I sat in front of a crackling fire, engrossed in a lively discussion about the recent calamity that had befallen the RMS Titanic. The tragic sinking of the Titanic had sent shockwaves around the world, leaving a somber cloud over the hearts of millions. But Holmes, with his astute mind and insatiable curiosity, seemed to sense that there was more to the story than met the eye. "Watson," Holmes began, his deep voice resonating with a sense of purpose, "the Titanic disaster has left behind a puzzle of considerable magnitude, obscured by the depths of the ocean. While the world speculates on what transpired that fateful night, I believe there may be more to the tragedy than a simple collision with an iceberg." I leaned forward in my chair, captivated by Holmes's intriguing hypothesis. "What do you suspect, Holmes? Is there a hidden motive behind the sinking? Some form of foul play, perhaps?" Holmes smiled, his keen eyes gleaming with excitement. "Precisely, my dear Watson. The magnitude of this event demands a closer examination. I have reason to believe that there exists a curious passenger, one who possesses vital information about the ill-fated liner." As if on cue, a knock resounded through the study, and Mrs. Hudson ushered in a young messenger boy, clutching a sealed envelope. Holmes, ever the observant detective, took note of the boy's disheveled appearance and ink-stained fingers. "Thank you, young man," Holmes said, reaching into his pocket and retrieving a coin. "Now off you go." With a nod of gratitude, the boy scurried away, leaving us alone with the mysterious envelope. Holmes examined it closely, his fingers tracing the elegant cursive on the front. "A correspondence, Watson," he announced, breaking the seal with a delicate precision. "From a certain Mr. Reginald Sterling. The timing is fortuitous, to say the least." I watched intently as Holmes read the contents of the letter. His face, normally stoic, betrayed a flicker of intrigue. "Mr. Sterling claims to possess information of utmost importance regarding the Titanic," Holmes revealed, his voice low and measured. "He requests our presence at his residence to discuss this matter further. It seems our journey begins sooner than anticipated."
The address provided in the letter led us to the outskirts of London, where we found ourselves standing before a grand mansion. The sprawling estate exuded an air of wealth and power, yet there was an underlying unease that hung in the atmosphere. As we were ushered into the opulent study, the scent of aged leather and polished wood filled the air. Mr. Reginald Sterling, a distinguished figure with graying hair and a well-groomed mustache, greeted us with a mix of trepidation and anticipation. "Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, thank you for answering my summons," Mr. Sterling said, his voice laced with a hint of anxiety. "Please make yourselves comfortable." Holmes took in the surroundings, his eyes scanning the room for any hidden details. "Mr. Sterling, we are here at your behest. Pray, enlighten us about the nature of your inquiry." Mr. Sterling paced nervously, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. "Gentlemen, I received a letter a week prior to the Titanic's departure," he began, his voice quivering slightly. "It warned of an impending disaster," Mr. Sterling continued, his voice quivering slightly. "The letter urged me to cancel my voyage on the Titanic. At the time, I dismissed it as a mere prank or a product of an overactive imagination." Holmes leaned forward, his gaze fixed upon Mr. Sterling. "Pray, tell us more about the contents of this letter. Was there anything specific mentioned that caught your attention?" Mr. Sterling nodded, his expression growing somber. "The letter spoke of a deliberate act that would lead to the Titanic's demise. It hinted at a dark force at play, but it provided no further details. I disregarded it as the ramblings of a disturbed mind. But now, in light of the tragedy, I can't help but wonder if there was truth to it." Holmes furrowed his brow, deep in thought. "Curious indeed," he murmured. "The handwriting and choice of words suggest an intimate knowledge of the Titanic's fate. It is imperative that we delve deeper into this matter." I turned to Mr. Sterling. "Do you recall any peculiarities about the letter? Anything that might help us ascertain its authenticity?" Mr. Sterling pondered for a moment before responding. "The envelope was postmarked from Southampton, the port from which the Titanic set sail. The handwriting was neat and precise. but I cannot say with certainty who might have sent it. The letter bore no signature or return address. Holmes stood up, a sense of purpose emanating from his every movement. "Mr. Sterling, I assure you that we shall leave no stone unturned in our pursuit of the truth. We shall investigate this matter with utmost dedication." As we departed from Mr. Sterling's residence, Holmes hailed a hansom cab, and we made our way back to Baker Street. The fog had thickened, casting an ethereal veil over the city, mirroring the enigmatic nature of the case before us. Back in the familiar surroundings of our study, Holmes paced back and forth, his mind already working at lightning speed. "Watson, we must embark on a journey," he declared, his voice brimming with determination. "A journey to the wreckage site of the Titanic itself. There, amidst the remnants of that ill-fated vessel, we shall unravel the truth behind this enigma." The prospect of venturing into the depths of the ocean filled me with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Nevertheless, I trusted Holmes's intuition implicitly. We made preparations, gathering diving apparatus, maps, and any resources we deemed necessary for our quest. Days later, we found ourselves aboard a steamer bound for the North Atlantic, the cold sea breeze whispering tales of forgotten secrets. Holmes and I stood on the deck, gazing out at the vast expanse of water, its surface reflecting the infinite possibilities of our upcoming investigation. Little did we know the challenges and revelations that awaited us beneath the waves. As we descended into the depths, the murky waters swallowed the sunlight, and the debris field of the Titanic loomed before us like a ghostly graveyard. The steamer cut through the frigid waters of the North Atlantic as Holmes and I stood on the deck, anticipation brimming within us. Our descent into the depths to explore the wreckage of the Titanic promised to reveal the hidden truths that lay buried beneath the waves. Equipped with diving apparatus, we descended into the depths, surrounded by an eerie silence broken only by the sound of our own breaths. The debris field of the Titanic stretched out before us, a haunting reminder of the grandeur that once sailed upon these waters. Holmes, always the meticulous observer, scanned the surroundings, his sharp eyes searching for any sign of significance. Amidst the wreckage, a glimmer of metal caught his attention. With cautious steps, we made our way towards the object of his curiosity. There, amidst the tangled remains of steel and wood, Holmes unearthed a peculiar artifact, a silver pocket watch. It lay nestled amidst the debris, as if patiently waiting to reveal its secrets. Carefully, Holmes picked up the watch, his gloved fingers examining the intricate engravings on its surface. "Watson, take a look at this," he called, his voice muffled by the diving apparatus. I swam closer, my gaze fixated on the pocket watch. The initials HS adorned its cover, engraved with precision and elegance. "Do you recognize these initials, Holmes?" I inquired, my curiosity piqued. Holmes peered at the watch, his eyes shining with excitement. "Indeed, Watson. They belong to a certain Henry Stevenson, a renowned shipbuilder and former business partner of Edward Drummond." I furrowed my brow, recalling the name. Edward Drummond? Wasn't he involved in a scandal involving Stevenson Shipworks? Holmes nodded, his voice tinged with gravity. "Indeed he was, Watson. Stevenson Shipworks faced financial ruin, and whispers of betrayal and deceit surrounded Henry Stevenson's untimely demise. This pocket watch, with its connection to both Stevenson and the Titanic, may hold the key to unraveling the mysteries we seek." Back on solid ground, Holmes and I retreated to the familiar confines of 221B Baker Street, the pocket watch nestled securely in Holmes's hands. We sat by the fireplace, the crackling flames casting dancing shadows across the room. Holmes immersed himself in his network of contacts, delving deep into the past, tracing the pocket watch's origins. As I watched him work, his intensity palpable, I couldn't help but marvel at the relentless pursuit of truth that defined Sherlock Holmes. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, until finally Holmes emerged from his deep contemplation, a triumphant glint in his eyes. "Watson, I have discovered the origins of the pocket watch," he announced, his voice brimming with excitement. "It once belonged to Henry Stevenson, the very man connected to the Titanic and Edward Drummond." I leaned forward, eager to hear the revelations. "Tell me, Holmes, What did you uncover?" Holmes placed the pocket watch on the table, its silver gleaming under the soft glow of the lamplight. Henry Stephenson, a gifted shipbuilder, had embarked on a project of great ambition, the construction of the Titanic. However, his partnership with Edward Drummond soured, resulting in Stephenson's financial ruin. I listened intently, captivated by the intricate web Holmes was weaving. Drummond sought to salvage his crumbling empire by ensuring the Titanic's destruction. He plotted to sabotage the ship's course, creating a catastrophe that would secure a handsome insurance payout. I gasped, the weight of Holmes's words sinking in. "You mean to say that the sinking of the Titanic was not an accident, but a deliberate act orchestrated by Edward Drummond?" I exclaimed, my voice filled with disbelief. Holmes nodded, his expression grave. "Indeed, Watson. It appears that Drummond's insatiable greed led him to plot the demise of the Titanic. The pocket watch connects Stephenson, Drummond, and the ill-fated ship, unraveling a twisted tale of betrayal and deceit." My mind raced, trying to comprehend the enormity of the revelation. "But Holmes, how do we prove Drummond's involvement? What evidence can we gather to bring him to justice?" Holmes leaned back in his chair, his fingertips steepled in front of him. "We shall need to dig deeper, Watson. Drummond may have left traces of his involvement, and it is our task to uncover them." Days turned into nights as Holmes and I immersed ourselves in the case. We scoured public records, interviewed former associates, and meticulously pieced together fragments of information. The walls of our study were adorned with maps, timelines, and photographs, a testament to our relentless pursuit of justice. Finally, a breakthrough came in the form of a faded newspaper article. It spoke of financial irregularities surrounding Stephenson's shipworks and hinted at Edward Drummond's unscrupulous dealings. With this new lead in hand, we set out to confront the man himself. Edward Drummond, an imposing figure with a demeanor that exuded arrogance, met us at his lavish mansion. He seemed unruffled by our presence, believing himself untouchable. Little did he know that Holmes's penetrating gaze missed no detail, and his mind worked tirelessly to connect the dots. Holmes wasted no time in confronting Drummond. "Mr. Drummond, the time for deception has come to an end. We have uncovered your involvement in the sinking of the Titanic," he declared, his voice firm and unwavering. Drummond's face contorted with a mix of surprise and indignation. "You dare accuse me without evidence?" he spat, his voice laced with defiance. Holmes held up the pocket watch, the glint of silver catching the light. "This pocket watch, once belonging to Henry Stephenson, connects you to the Titanic and the plot that led to its destruction. We know of your financial troubles, your partnership with Stephenson, and your motives." Drummond's mask of defiance began to crumble, his facade slipping away. "It was all for money," he confessed, his voice barely a whisper. "I sought to save my empire, to ensure my wealth and power, but the cost was far greater than I anticipated." Justice had prevailed, and Drummond was apprehended, forced to face the consequences of his malevolent actions. The revelation of his involvement in the sinking of the Titanic sent shockwaves through society, forever altering the perception of the tragedy. As Holmes and I reflected on the case, our minds filled with a mix of satisfaction and sorrow. The Titanic, once a symbol of opulence and grandeur, now represented the depths of human greed and the consequences of unchecked ambition. But our duty was not yet complete. There were still mysteries to unravel and justice to be served. With renewed determination, we vowed to bring to light the full extent of the Titanic mystery and ensure that all those responsible face the consequences of their actions. The final chapter in our investigation into the Titanic mystery dawned with a sense of urgency. Holmes and I had tirelessly pursued the truth, unearthing the sinister plot behind the sinking of the great ocean liner. Now, armed with knowledge and determination, we sought to bring all those involved to justice. Our pursuit led us to a courtroom in the heart of London. Edward Drummond, once a man of power and influence, now sat in the defendant's chair, facing the weight of his misdeeds. The room was filled with a hushed anticipation as the trial commenced. Holmes and I took our place in the gallery, watching as the prosecution built their case, presenting evidence and witnesses to establish Drummond's guilt. The courtroom buzzed with whispered conversations and the occasional gasp as revelations unfolded. The prosecution's star witness, Mr. Reginald Sterling, took the stand. With unwavering composure, he testified about the warning letter he had received, the connection to Henry Stevenson, and the greed-fueled plot that led to the tragedy. His words carried weight, drawing the jury's attention to the malevolent intentions of the accused. As the trial progressed, Holmes meticulously studied Drummond's every move, searching for any sign of remorse or guilt. The man's facade of indifference remained intact, his eyes devoid of remorse as he listened to the testimonies against him. Then came our moment to present the final piece of evidence, a letter, carefully preserved and hidden from the world. It had been salvaged from the wreckage of the Titanic, bearing the unmistakable signature of Edward Drummond. Holmes stood before the court, his presence commanding attention. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present to you a letter penned by the accused, Edward Drummond, in which he detailed his plan to sabotage the Titanic," Holmes proclaimed, his voice resolute. Gasps echoed through the courtroom as the letter was revealed, its damning contents exposed for all to see. The words painted a vivid picture of greed and deceit, confirming the depths to which Drummond had sunk in pursuit of his own interests. The defense attempted to discredit the letter, questioning its authenticity and suggesting that it had been fabricated to frame their client. But Holmes had anticipated this and called upon experts who meticulously analyzed the handwriting, ink, and paper, confirming its legitimacy beyond a shadow of a doubt. The atmosphere in the courtroom grew tense as the jury retired to deliberate. Holmes and I exchanged glances, the weight of our pursuit hanging heavy in the air. We had uncovered the truth, but the outcome of the trial remained uncertain. After what felt like an eternity, the jury filed back into the courtroom. The moment of truth had arrived. The judge, a stern figure with a no-nonsense demeanor, addressed the jury, their verdict poised to shape the course of justice. "In the case of Edward Drummond, on charges related to the sinking of the Titanic, how do you find the defendant?" the judge asked, his voice resounding through the room. The jury foreperson stood, his voice firm and unwavering. "We find the defendant, Edward Drummond, guilty on all charges." A collective gasp swept through the courtroom as the weight of the verdict sank in. Drummond, the mastermind behind the tragedy, had been held accountable for his actions. Outside the courtroom, the news of the verdict rippled through the city, capturing the attention of the nation and the world. The truth behind the Titanic's demise had been revealed, and justice had prevailed. In the days that followed, Holmes and I reflected on the case, its impact far-reaching. The legacy of the Titanic had forever changed, from a symbol of tragedy to one of resilience. The revelation of the conspiracy that led to its sinking had sparked a renewed interest in uncovering the truth behind historical events. The media swarmed around us, seeking interviews and insights into our investigation. Holmes, ever the enigmatic figure, shared his thoughts sparingly, allowing the evidence to speak for itself. Our work had brought justice to those who had conspired against innocent lives, and the world watched with bated breath as the story unfolded. The trial of Edward Drummond had sent shockwaves through society, prompting a reevaluation of trust and accountability. It served as a stark reminder that even the most powerful individuals could be held responsible for their actions. As the Titanic mystery gained global attention, the families of the victims found solace in knowing the truth. Their loved ones had not perished due to mere misfortune, but had fallen victim to a calculated act of greed. Closure, however painful, offered a sense of peace and resolution. The public's fascination with the Titanic grew exponentially. Books were written, films were produced, and exhibitions were curated, each one attempting to capture the magnitude of the tragedy and the heroism of those involved. The stories of the passengers and crew who had faced their final moments with bravery and dignity became a source of inspiration for generations to come. Holmes and I, with our task completed, continued our work in the realm of crime solving, though forever touched by the profound impact the Titanic case had on us. It had tested our skills, challenged our beliefs, and reinforced our unwavering commitment to seeking the truth. Years passed, and the memory of the Titanic remained etched in the annals of history. The ship's wreckage lay undisturbed, a silent monument to the lives lost and the secrets buried beneath the waves. Its legacy served as a constant reminder of the delicate balance between human ambition and the forces of nature. And so, the tale of the Titanic mystery came to a close. The truth had prevailed, and the world was left with an indelible mark, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the pursuit of justice. But in the depths of our hearts, Holmes and I knew that there would always be mysteries waiting to be unraveled, cases waiting to be solved. For as long as there were truths to be discovered, we would continue to tread the path of detectives, forever captivated by the enigma of the human mind.